Malaysia looking at fully reopening border with Singapore in January. Over 5 million ringgit worth of drugs seized in Kuala Lumpur, Selangor raids. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Cynthia Arthur. You're watching news at 10. Malaysia's COVID-19 cases continue to spike, with the Health Ministry announcing 182 new infections in the country today. This is the second time the daily case increase was in 3 figures. The last time was on Tuesday, when the country recorded 100 new cases. In a statement, Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said of the 182 cases, only one is an imported case, while the rest are local transmissions. The bulk of the cases were from the Benteng Lahad Datuk cluster in Sabah, with 167 new infections recorded in a span of 24 hours. The total number of cases under the cluster has doubled to 337, currently the biggest and most active cluster nationwide. The Sungai cluster in Kedah recorded 14 new cases today. The cluster now has a total of 54 cases. Malaysia also discharged 14 patients, which means the total number of recoveries is 9,181, or at a rate of 93.59% today. The total number of active cases in the country has now shot up to 501 cases. Cumulatively, the country's total of cases since the outbreak began in January is 9,810. Currently, 9 people are being treated at intensive care units, with 5 of them requiring ventilator support. No fatalities were reported, which means the COVID-19 death toll in the country remains at 128, or at a rate of 1.3%. The Health Ministry is looking at the possibility of fully reopening the Malaysian-Singapore border for daily commuters in January. Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Adam Baba today said the Recovery Movement Control Order RMCO period over the next 4 months would be an important time for the country, as it would determine if it was possible to reopen the borders with Singapore fully. He said during this time, a more systematic approach would be taken in such areas as border control, physical distancing and the use of personal protective equipment.
Memang merancang untuk kita buka segera yang boleh kerana tekanan daripada masyarakat yang menjurus pada livelihood iaitu ekonomi penting kesihatan penting, ekonomi penting. Kita kena balance lah ya. Jadi PKP pemulihan yang berlangsung selama 4 bulan ni lah waktu yang paling penting untuk kita bukan try error kita mesti ikut data-data dan juga peraturan-peraturan yang kita boleh sangkal sekiranya pembukaan tersebut dilaksanakan.
He also said the ministry was looking at doubling its capacity in swab tests for travellers under the Reciprocal Green Lane RGL and periodic commuting arrangement PCA plans. Datuk Seri Dr. Adam said in considering whether to fully open the borders, the ministry had to consider the people's livelihood, which had been affected by COVID-19. He said this after attending the unveiling of a tribute to frontliners in the form of mural constructed from Lego bricks at the Legoland Malaysia Resort near Johor Bahru today. The mural was unveiled by Johor Menteri Besar Datuk Hasni Mohamad, Datuk Seri Dr. Adam and Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Datuk Seri Nancy Shukri. Meanwhile, Datuk Hasni said the state government would continue to push Putrajaya to open up the border with Singapore as soon as possible. Police arrested 312 people for flouting the Recovery Movement Control Order yesterday amid concerns about a spike in COVID-19 cases over the week. Senior Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob today said 267 of these were freed after being issued compounds, while 38 were remanded and 7 released on bail. The senior minister in a statement today said among those arrested were also suspects involved in prostitution rings. He added that offences included failure to provide registration of customers, not wearing face masks, holding activities that made social distancing difficult, visiting pubs and nightclubs, illegal immigrants without travel documents, operating beyond time curfew and suspected prostitution activities. Under Ops Benteng, Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri said authorities had successfully nabbed 84 illegal immigrants, a smuggler and a boat captain. He said there will be continuous action by enforcement authorities to stop illegal entry of foreigners, adding that authorities will also take stern action against those who facilitate illegal immigrants to sneak into the country. Police have tightened roadblocks on every road connecting Kota Setar district with other districts and established a team to set up control at red lanes or illegal routes in areas placed under the Administrative Enhanced Movement Control Order (EMCO). Kota Setar District Deputy Police Chief Superintendent Muhammad Redwan Saleh said 7 roadblocks have been mounted, namely in front of Restoran Haji Ramli Simpang 4, Jalan Batas Pipe, Kuala Kedah, in front of Alur Janggus Police Station, in front of Kepala Batas Police Station, Jalan Hutan Kampung, Alur Star Utara and Alur Star Selatan toll plazas. He said a total of 21 teams will carry out monitoring according to schedule to ensure that no one violates the administrative EMCO rules set. He said this to reporters at the Kota Setar District Police Headquarters today. Yesterday, Senior Minister Security Cluster Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the government would enforce the administrative EMCO in 28 areas in Kota Setar Kedah from today until the 25th of September, which would involve a total of 366,787 residents. The decision was made after taking into account the increase in COVID-19 positive cases involving Sungai and Tawar clusters in the district. The Sultan Abdul Halim Airport (LTSAH) will operate as usual during the implementation of the administrative EMCO in the Kota Setar district. Malaysia Airport, in a statement today, however, said during that period, those who wish to travel through the airport must obtain permission from the police. Malaysia Airport also reminded all passengers to comply with standard operating procedures (SOP) while they are in the airport, such as using the MySejahtera application, wearing face masks and maintaining physical distance. Meanwhile, LTSAH manager Lokman Ahmad said passengers living in areas that have been placed under the administrative EMCO are not allowed to leave or enter the Kota Setar district through the airport without the police permission. However, he said if the passengers are from other states or districts, they can proceed with their trip to their respective destinations. A total of 5.16 million ringgit worth of drugs were seized following 15 raids in Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. Police also detained 17 syndicate members aged between 28 and 59, including the mastermind in his 40s, following the raids on the 8th and 9th of September. Bukit Aman Narcotics Criminal Investigation Department (NCID) Deputy Director Deputy Commissioner Zainuddin Ahmad said police conducted 6 raids in Selangor and Kuala Lumpur on the 8th of September and detained 5 locals, 3 men and 2 women. He added that an array of drugs worth 2.25 million ringgit were also seized from the first series of raids.
Nilai rampasan dadah dianggarkan bernilai RM 2.25 juta dan nilai sitaan harta melibatkan wang ringgit, wang tunai, kenderaan mewah, barang kemas dan juga jam tangan dianggarkan bernilai RM 334,750 ringgit.
In the second series of raids, DCP Zainuddin said 9 raids were conducted in the Klang Valley on 9th of September, where 8 local men, 2 local women and 2 Vietnamese women were detained. Police also seized various drugs worth 2.91 million ringgit. Assets of the syndicates worth 1.2 million ringgit were also seized, including 13 vehicles. DCP Zainuddin said those detained have been remanded until the 17th of September and the case is being investigated under Section 39B of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. The federal court today dismissed an application to stop the Sabah state election nomination, for which is tomorrow, and polling on the 26th of September. The application was brought by former Tamparuli Assemblyman Dato' Jahid alias Nordin Jahim to stay the state election pending disposal of an appeal over who the rightful Chief Minister of Sabah is, Dato' Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdul or Tan Sri Musa Aman. A three-member bench led by Justice Dato' Abdul Rahman Sebli made the decision. The other two judges were Dato' Zabaria Muhammad Yusof and Dato' Mary Lim Thiam Swan. Dato' Jahid had filed the application on Tuesday, naming Dato' Sri Muhammad Shafi'i, Sabah State Legislative Assembly Speaker, Dato' Sri Syed Abbas Syed Ali, and State Assembly Secretary Dato' Bernard J. Dalinting as the respondents. Tan Sri Musa and Dato' Jahid obtained leave from the federal court on the 26th of August to proceed with the appeal over their challenge of the validity of Dato' Sri Muhammad Shafi'i's appointment as the Sabah Chief Minister. The three-member bench in a majority 2-1 decision allowed the applications by Tan Sri Musa and Dato' Jahid to obtain leave to appeal against the Court of Appeal decision. Both Tan Sri Musa and Dato' Jahid had their appeals dismissed by the Court of Appeal on the 28th November last year. The litigant must first obtain leave in order to proceed with the appeal to the federal court. Former Finance Minister Lim Guan Eng was charged in the Sessions Court in Butterworth today with 2 counts of causing 2 plots of land belonging to the Pulau Pinang government worth 208.8 million ringgit to be disposed of to developers. Lim, 60, who is also former Pulau Pinang Chief Minister, pleaded not guilty after both charges were read out before Judge Ahmad Azhari Abdul Hamid. On the first count, Lim was charged with causing Pulau Pinang Land Registrar to dispose of property belonging to the state government worth over 135 million ringgit to Ewin Zenith Sdn Bhd. The Bagan MP was also accused of causing the Pulau Pinang Land Registrar to dispose of another plot of land worth over 73.6 million ringgit to Zenith Urban Development Sdn Bhd. Lim was charged with committing both offences on the 17th of February 2015 and 22nd of March 2017. The charges under Section 403 of the Penal Code provide for imprisonment of up to 5 years and whipping and a fine upon conviction. Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Deputy Public Prosecutors Wan Shaharuddin Wan Ladin and Francine Cheryl Rajendram appeared for the prosecution, while Lim was represented by lawyers Gobind Singh Dio, Ramkarpal Singh, RSN Rayer and A. Sivanesan. Today's charges against Lim were the last in connection with the Pulau Pinang Undersea Tunnel project. PM challenges universities to produce Nobel laureates. Universities and educators are urged to stand out and produce Nobel laureates. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said universities must restructure or come up with programs that portray their strength regarding an issue or topic.
Maka sahutlah cabaran saya agar IPT mulai bersaing untuk menganjurkan aktiviti-aktiviti yang boleh menghasilkan Nobel laureate yang boleh menjadi kebanggaan negara dan dunia ini.
He said this at a scholarship handing over ceremony at University Malaysia Sabah UMS in Kota Kinabalu today. The Premier said the effort will show that the nation's education system is capable of competing in a global environment. On improving the standard of education in Sabah and the country as a whole, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said funding for skill training and the sort are needed. In this respect, he commended Tenaga Nasional Berhad TNB for its corporate social responsibilities and in offering study grants for students nationwide. A total of 154 students in Sabah received the scholarship this year. Only 255,000 out of an estimated 2.7 million self-employed Malaysians have registered for the Employees Provident Fund Saraan scheme. Deputy Finance Minister Tun Muhammad Shahar Abdullah said the numbers were not encouraging and that more Malaysians, especially those involved in the gig economy, should sign up for the scheme.
Yang berdaftar hanya 255,000 sahaja daripada jumlah yang dikeluarkan oleh Jabatan Statistik Malaysia 2.7 juta yang bekerja sendiri. Maknanya jumlahnya tidak merangsangkan. Dan yang keduanya, yang berdaftar itu daripada 255,000 hanya 18% sahaja mencarum. Tetapi manfaat yang mereka akan dapat sama seperti manfaat pencarum-pencarum KWSP dalam sistem pekerjaan yang formal.
He said this to reporters after visiting Negeri Sembilan EPF office in Seremban today. In June, the government, through the National Economic Revival Plan, Penjana, had announced a 50 million ringgit matching grant for gig economy workers who wish to contribute to EPF's Saraan and Sokso's Employment Injury Scheme. Under the voluntary scheme, the self-employed will receive an additional special government incentive of 15%, subject to a maximum of 250 ringgit annually. They can contribute a minimum of 1 ringgit a month or a maximum of 60,000 ringgit per annum. The special incentive is given out from 2018 until 2022. Muhammad Shahar said the self-employed should sign up for the scheme as it would benefit them. The Malaysian labour market has improved in July, with the unemployment rate decreasing for the second consecutive month. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department Economy, Dato' Sri Mustafa Mohamad, said data from the Department of Statistics Malaysia today revealed that the unemployment rate fell to 4.7% during the month, from 4.9% in June and 5.3% in May. He said employment in a number of economic sectors had increased since June 2020, most significantly in the services sector, such as accommodation, food and beverage activities, arts, entertainment and recreation, transportation, and information and communications technology related activities such as e-commerce and e-hailing. The Industrial Production Index, IPI, which encompasses three main sectors, namely mining, manufacturing and electricity, recorded positive growth at 2.1% year-on-year in July, after contracting for 4 consecutive months since March this year. Additionally, Dato' Sri Mustafa said the manufacturing sector's sales value maintained its positive growth in July, rising by 1.9% year-on-year to 119.3 billion ringgit from 117 billion ringgit previously. He added that the recovery of the labour market and economic activity is in line with the government's decision to gradually reopen the economy since May to allow more businesses to operate. That concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, Malaysia looking at fully reopening border with Singapore in January. Join us again at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm Cynthia Arthur. Stay tuned to Saluran Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening.